Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, live in the Hunker in the Bunker, day 6. I haven't actually left. 6 days in here. I brought a change of clothes. I'm self-isolating in this small square box. Hello. I'm joined today by the wonderful Mr. Bud. That's what I've called you, Mr. Bud. How are you?
That's right. I'm doing great, Rob.
Rob?
It's still dark out. It's still dark out. I got to talk for the British people. I had my breccie this morning, and I'm all ready to go. I've got my water. Stay hydrated,
Oh, thank you
everyone.
for doing that for me. Yeah, good. All right, sweet. We're going to find out about Bud in a moment because he's from the Great North. But before that, I want to say a big shout out if you've been watching live for any of the days or you just joined us today. We'll be live every day midday, so tune in. Try and get the whole world together, hanging out, talking about stuff, talking about Warhammer, things we love, and then getting us through these times. If you do support The Honest Wargamer on Patreon, just want to say a big love and thank you to you guys. Couldn't do it without you, so you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. And then, yeah, if you've joined us live, let's get chatting. There's Dexamon in the chat, John P., DJ Batman, incredibly nice fella, but he's on the other side of the world to you, Bud, where it's dark there at night, I think. Because
Yes. Well,
yeah,
dark in the morning.
you're dark in the morning, he's dark at night. And
Oh,
I'm in
yeah.
the bright British summer
So,
in what looks to be like a scene from 28 Days Later as I walk through town. It's just nothing. And then occasionally I see a person, I was like, I'm staying 14 feet away from you. Screw you.
that's right. Stay back.
Jimmy 1080 says, I wish you were the hunk in my bunk. Jimmy 1080, winky face. Lee Bromley, good
Wow.
evening. Grubda. Mr. Budtastic says hi. Over on YouTube, I want to say hi to AT. Chris Palumbo, cheers for Stream Street Day 6. No problem at all. Thank you all for being here. I hope you're well. Right, so stay hydrated. I'm going to drink some water, and I'm going to do that while Mr. Bud introduces himself. Where are you located? Who are you? Tell me about yourself.
Well, I'll get to all that. I got to get through the housekeeping first. So, Bud Kaler, aka Budtastic Guy's appearance on The Honest Wargamer, is brought to you in part by the Budtastic Group of Companies, a subsidiary of the Rage of Sigmar media conglomerate.
I'm sorry, I didn't check
So,
with your agent before. I didn't.
it's all that legal
Yeah,
stuff,
good. All right, sweet. You can find all of the legal notes in the show notes below. Please do follow those.
That's right. Okay. So confession time, Rob. I'm not in the northern part of Canada. I've, I know you're bad at geography, and I've always felt bad
Wow,
correcting you.
rude.
But I'm actually pretty close to the U.S. border, right in the middle of Canada. I'm actually about maybe further south than Dan Unsupervised in
Oh,
Vancouver.
really?
Yeah,
Why is it so
but
empty
it
where
is
you are
really
then?
cold. 'Cause it's frickin' cold. I mean, it was it was minus 20 overnight the other day. Like I think on Thursday.
Minus 20.
I mean, it was yeah,
That's colder than the look I
yeah.
get off the girlfriend when I bring a new box of minis home, which is a cold look.
Yeah. Yeah, funny thing is some kids still showed up at school with sweatshirts and not winter jackets cuz hey, it was nice the day before, should be the next day too.
Okay. That minus
Um
20 is. I like minus 20 in a pandemic going to school. Those kids really want an education.
yeah, I had like on Wednesday, I had 80% of my students there.
Wow. Okay. But isn't that
It
in
was,
a remote region about 8 people?
give or take. It was 20. It was
Oh,
20.
okay. Mr. Kapowski, thank you for subscribing, by the way. Thank you to anyone who does. And if you do want to join in the chat today, or just at any point, I'm going to put a link to our Discord in the show, in the chat. So join the Discord. You can be like chatting with everyone. DJ Batman's doing some hobby. He's trying to make a hawk. I think, and then Dajin yesterday was showing off some of his painting, so it'd be cool getting everyone together, chatting about some things. So yeah, okay, so my geography is wrong, and you're not located where I thought you were located, but you are located in a very remote part, or remote-ish, compared to, you did some maths earlier on
So
Twitter, right?
yeah. I was just crunching some numbers like for population density. So if you look at the entire country of England, for example, Your population density is 274 per square kilometer, 274 people. So that's the whole country. If you take the urban area, it's like 5,200. In my area, in the community I live in, where it's 12,000 people, we have 735. And then you go outside of town, and it's more like 8 per square
Wow,
kilometer.
that's crazy.
So yeah,
Because I
yeah.
know from my
So
experiences of going to, like, obviously England is super compact, and I'm sure some people listening also live in very dense regions. But my first experiences of kind of the wilds was when I went to Australia like 5 or 6 years ago, not recently, but obviously reinforced every time I went, or when I went over to the US, and you don't really, well, I didn't really understand, having only lived in the UK, just how vast it is. Just, I mean, the car parks are the size of entire shopping centres, like in the UK. It's just like why do you need this many car parking spots? How many people live here? Like, what the fuck?
because we have no public transit, everyone has to have their own
Yeah.
vehicle.
So, good morning, everyone who's just joined us. By the way, Wargaming Dad Virulent, Tim Eckes, Tim Meckes. I'm going to go for that. Senzor, Scrivo, OJ. Yeah. So. Yeah, one of the things I don't understand. Yeah, so you're in a far more isolated region, and one of the things that struck home to me, especially having to become friends with people like yourself, I think of the Fairchild guys, I think of Clint O, from the Heralds of War, and their experiences, and talking to me about how remote they are from large population centres, and being able to like be a part of the hobby in some cases. Thank you for subscribing. There is only Joe in the house. What up? I think about those people in those remote regions, especially times like this. I'm like, how lucky is that? That's great. But also, I think about you when things are a little bit more stable and hobbying and everything else. So it'd be interesting to find out about that in a bit, right? And for you to tell us about that. But before we do that, let us know about your journey into Warhammer. Is that okay?
Yeah. So I brought show and tell because I'm a teacher and that's what we do. This was my first army book I ever bought.
Nice. Wood Elves. What edition is that?
I think it's 5th edition.
Okay, that's so a while ago. Because you look like a sprightly 37, 38, like nothing over that.
Yeah. My age? Let's go north of 40 there. Turned 46 next month.
Congratulations! You look
great.
Oh,
thanks.
Yeah, you're going to be like a. I was trying to think of a sexy older man, but I couldn't think of anyone other than Clint Eastwood.
Oh, Matt Damon.
Okay, yeah, you could be Matt Damon. That'll do.
Tina says I look like Matt Damon, but now it's more like the what was the one he got really overweight for in that movie? Was that Matt Damon?
I don't know. I honestly do.
I never watched it because I was too embarrassed to see myself that heavy.
Dexamon says that you're a DILF, and Warpspider says you look like George Clooney. So what is it that made you get into Warhammer? Like, do you remember like how you picked up that book? Why you picked up that book?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to my cousin's place, and him and his buddies had these models. They were just playing on their dining room table, and one guy had speaker device. You still hearing me? It's still good? Okay, good. So one guy had my cousin had goblins, one guy had the old lizardmen, and one guy had Skaven. There was no terrain. It was just a bare table, and they each had about 10, 15 models. And I looked at that, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Because I've always enjoyed fantasy stories and just like creating your own stories and immersing yourselves in the game. So
did you ever get into like any fantasy series when you were a kid, like books, like written books?
Yeah, like Lord of the Rings, obviously. There was David Eddings. What was it called? The Belgariad. I think that was the first one that I really got into. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just like
I haven't read
awesome.
David Eddings. I've always seen his. I know this is a terrible way to pick fantasy books, but I've always judged a book by its cover.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna buy that book, which is a terrible way to do it. I think Goodreads is the way you're meant to do it. That's a better way.
Oh. Yeah, I got in trouble actually. The one book is called Castle of Wizardry, and I was like, I brought it home and I was reading it, and my mom's like, "Is this an appropriate book for you? It's got wizards in it." I'm like,
Wizards are so evil. Like, what I really like is
I
in
know.
that level of like social acceptance for mums is wizards
Yeah.
and rappers. Like, they're like neither are appropriate, but not in any way related. Yeah, you're like, and now I want wizard rappers or rappers who are wizards. I want that storyline to occur somewhere.
Rapping wizards. Man, that's an incantation that would go
Or
well,
badly.
I think. Yeah, yeah. The demon comes up. Why are you summoning me with this?
That'd be really good.
Um, yeah, no. So that's when I got into it, and actually I picked wood elves. I think I was gonna pick high elves, and I went to I traveled into the big city, went to the store, and they only had wood elves. So all right, looks cool. So that's what I got, and they were my first army. So yeah, that was 24. No, it was about 20 years
Wow.
ago.
Okay.
And then yeah. So it's kind of been on and off. It depended if there were events that I found out about. Then I was obviously more into it. If I was able to get together with people and play.
Because
but
that is a key element of what we do, right? It's so social, way more than people realize.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like my favorite thing, lots of people just like, want to hang out at the store or just play with buddies. And my big thing is I love 2-day events. They're my absolute favorite, and I can count on one hand how many I've been able to go to, just because of the amount of travel involved to be able to find something like that. Like even like the last time I went to an event with more than 50 people, where I didn't have to drive more than 6 hours for an AOS event. Like it's been years. So like when I see stuff like from the UK coming up, it's like, oh, we had a small 40-person event this weekend. It's like, oh, you guys, you have no idea.
Yeah, with 32 guys. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you've 2-day events you've been able to attend have been fairly low. We got to meet last year when I travelled over to Canada, and you were taking part in Capital City Bloodbath Gaming. And
Yeah.
we'll touch on this more later, but we got to meet then. But you'd expressed to me how far you travelled and the distance. I got to meet your lovely wife, which was very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is the like? So having 40-man events is unheard of around where you are. You have to travel how far?
Yeah, I mean, well, for AOS, I think the closest, like, what's it called? Midwest Meltdown this summer in Chicago. Like that's the only one I can think of over 50 that's kind of close for AOS, and that's about a 13-hour drive, so like 1,100 kilometers.
1,300 kilometers. My friend, to give you some indication, my friend Speckles lives in Derby, which is 45 minutes away, and he moans about coming to see me all the time. That's not true. That's really unfair. He moans about giving me lifts all the time. He doesn't moan about coming to see me.
No, like on a Friday evening, because I mean there's a group of guys I get together with in Winnipeg once in a while, and when I'm not busy, like on a Friday evening, I'll end school at 4 o'clock, and then I'll like grab some stuff, get on the road, and it'll be about an hour and a half drive. It's about 130 kilometers to Winnipeg, and yeah, hour and a half to get there. Play one game, and then it's an hour and a half back home. Get back at 1:30.
Okay, wow. That's plenty,
Yeah.
especially when you work full time, right? Because you're a teacher, so you're working all the time.
Yeah.
So in the chat,
Yeah.
Johnny Begor has got some things to say. Bud is a local guy and he does so much for our community.
Ha!
He's
Ha!
amazing. I've seen that, and Studio Ursula, big shout out Benjamin, who'll be on the show tomorrow, talking about some things. So that'll be very exciting. I'm very excited about that. He says Bud has got a really nice voice, which he truly does. We'll talk about him being the voice of the T Sports Network later. What did you how have you been trying to improve gaming in your local community? And maybe this is a good life lesson for everyone around the world who has smaller or more remote, obviously ignoring everything that's happening in worldwide right now.
Yeah. 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 Considering the fact that you shouldn't be
Yeah.
getting together. Um, I guess it started about 2 years ago. Someone actually in the local community approached me and said, like, because we've had a little bit of Warhammer here, a little bit of Age of Sigmar. Sorry, Mrs. Budtastic just got up. Um, we've had a little bit going on, like small events, like 8 people, and the guy who was kind of running it stopped when AOS switched from Warhammer Fantasy to
The
AOS,
Great
and then lots of
Sundering.
people kind of the Great Purge.
Yeah.
Um, and so he asked me to take it over, and I did. So it kind of got me back into hobbying, and then I started bringing models to school, and I knew there was a couple of kids in my class at that time who I know had an interest in. One of the dads loves painting models; like that's his favorite part of the fantasy hobby. And so we started with just like there was like 3 or 4 of us. We get together at lunchtime and painting, and then I was involved in this youth drop-in. So we started just kind of a drop-in hangout, and we had lots of extra models for kids, so they didn't have to feel like, oh, I need to buy into the hobby if I'm going to be a part of this club. It's like, no, we have stuff for you. Like, don't let money get in the way of joining and hanging out and having fun. And so like that kind of grew at the school. Like 2 of those kids, they got super excited about it, and within like less than a year, they both had fully painted 1,500 point armies. And it was just like, I don't know, it was their excitement. It was just fabulous. So at the same time, I was getting more involved in the Winnipeg group, uh, and they've been really good at attracting new people into the hobby. Like even for myself, like I went to my first event, and Johnny Begor, he invited me into their Facebook chat group, and that was a huge step for me. Um, just getting a part of that community and being invited in like that, and those guys have been fabulous. So they've been as much as part of building the hobby in this area and in Winnipeg as what I've done. Like, because they've kind of inspired me to, like, be a good
Be a
dude,
good dude.
as
Yeah.
Nathan would say.
It's all,
Be a good dude.
yeah, it's
Be
all
great.
about being a good dude. Yeah, I agree. I think those people who are, we hear about, I got massive respect for Clinto, who runs CanCon, and John and Johnny, who run Bobo, right? And these big events, some of which have been going on for years. Obviously, you've got Pete, and AD, who runs Sheffield Slaughter. You've got like these kind of like storied people who people in other countries have heard about because they put on these events and they do these things. And obviously, a lot of media comes out of the UK about Warhammer. So for us, but
Yeah. Well, let's be honest too. Like a lot of some of those big events get worldwide attention because of what you've done
yeah,
too.
I guess so. Like, and I'm conscious of that. I am. But my point is it's really nice to hear about these people who are building up those communities, which eventually could be as big, right? Because can I just give you all a little anecdote about what happened to me after I left Games Workshop? I went to do a podcast with a guy called a podcast called Scrubby and Wells, and the guy that runs Scrubby and Wells, he talked about how much of an impact Warhammer had had on his life. So he got into it when he was quite young, and it taught him like math and arithmetic. a bunch of other stuff. And then it was in that conversation, I remember the conversation I'd had in a very like a very rushed day when I was at Games Workshop, when I'd organised a meeting with the lady that organised the school leagues. And she expressed to me like how much of a big deal it was, and how important it was, A, to the company, but B, also just to her personally, because it was really important to get people into it. And then I thought about it, and I thought, like I have got the most amazing friends and have met the most amazing people and do what I think is an amazing thing. Like I love hobbying and crafting and writing army lists, and some of the innovation you see from the people in our hobby, like War Scroll Builder, when Tony P did that, AOS Reminders, now that's out. Like a bunch of really clever shit. It's an incredibly like smart community of people to be involved with, and to have been able to have had that when I was younger, which I didn't have when I was younger. I played a lot of computer games when I was younger in isolation. Young me would be fine in the current situation. No problems at all.
Agreed.
And I think had I been able to have that, that would have been so great to have done that. Like, do you find the kids in your classes? So the point I'm trying to get at is I actually think that those people who build up those little local communities, especially for the kids and especially for kids who become young adults and then move into adult years, I think it's actually really important and is like one of those really nice outreach things that you can do for people. Are you finding that with the people in your classes? Like, have they bonded better, or have there been, like, you're a teacher, right? So you must have seen kids interact anyway. Do you think Warhammer's a good way for them to interact?
So, I don't know if there was an interview done on the radio station here with one of the guys who's been involved in the club, like right from the start. And so we had an event here that we thought was going to be like pretty small, like 10 people AOS, 10 people 40K, and it turned into this event where we had it was a combined event, but we had like 36 people for it, and for us that was huge and so exciting because we had so many people driving out from Winnipeg for it, and they brought terrain and mats and stuff. So during that event, like I have connections with the radio station just because I worked with that was my job before I grew up and became a teacher. And I decided I needed to support my family in a way other than the salary of a radio host.
Don't tell me about my future. I don't want to. Are you the ghost of Christmas future?
I am. What's the difference between a large pizza and a radio personality? What? A large pizza can feed a family of 4.
Dear. Right to my heart. I cut it out with this tiny skink blade.
Oh, sorry. That's right. Yeah, a pointy stick with rend 1.
Yeah. Sorry. You.
So anyway, yeah. So this guy who's been involved in the hobby, he did this interview. It was like a 2-minute interview, and like I teared up while listening to it because he talked about getting involved in the hobby, the fact that he's a guy who's not into sports. He's not really into drama. He didn't really have places where he could feel like he was a part of something at the school, and that this was something that he said I like numbers. I like statistics and that kind of thing, and I like fantasy. So this was a place where he could feel like he had something that he was interested in, that he was good at. And he talked about the connections that he's been able to make. And I've been able to see this guy grow from like as a 12-year-old, like it's from a 12-year-old, and I think he's 15 now. And just the amount of transformation, the growth, the way he relates to people. And some of that has been through the hobby and just learning how to relate, how to play with someone, how to, when the dice go bad, being able to react in a way that's, it's a game. And, those are all kind of these social things that we learn that gaming helps with. Like, and he's played against some of the guys from the Winnipeg scene, like the adults, and I was really nervous having him play them at first, but they love playing against him because he thinks through the game well, and he's learned how to how to interact with them. You know, and I'll just add one more point to that. The like AOS coach, he's had some video from a tournament a year or two ago where Beth, do you know Beth from Australia, the Nurgle
Maybe.
player?
Yes, I do.
She's
Yes, I
like
do.
she's 14. She's
Oh yeah,
14
yeah,
years
yeah.
old.
There's actually a guy in one of the failed charge guys actually who grudged her round one of CanCon this year just to get an easy win, and
Okay.
then lost, and then lost.
Yeah, yeah. And she probably chirped him about it too. So anyway, it was that video that was kind of like, oh, maybe this guy from my gaming club is ready to, like, why not let him play against adults? Because I was, kind of hesitant and stuff. I didn't know how the interaction would be. But, like, watching that video, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I did. And I think it's been really good for him because he can play against other people who actually know about the game instead of just beating me. And yeah, no, it's the club. There's so many things that maybe we don't see. They aren't really overt, but they're kind of like, I don't know. For me, it's all about the personal journey and not necessarily about the maths and the statistics, but about learning how to be a good human being.
I think it teaches you so much, like as a hobby, which is why that you can't do all of it. You're just not, unless maybe you're Vince Ventrella. Like because fuck that guy. He's just like he just drips
I
talent.
know.
He's such a
I know.
dick. Like
Yeah. Oh, it's so easy
Yeah.
and just look at that.
Also, I know all
Golden
these
Demon.
things. Yeah. And let me just read some of the comments before I rally on with my point, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Because I
Okay,
can't see them.
Dave Fraser says, in my classic 9 to 5 mentality, I thought about these I didn't think about these continuing all weekend. Yeah, working from home for the win. It's a stream streak until it's all over, which is a big commitment. I'm going to try and do every day, and I think that's going to be really fun. Honestly, and I'm loving it. I've already got like the next 3 days lined up in interviews. Already having ideas right now, so it's going to be real rad. And this is fun. I'm already loving just hearing about everything from you, bud. So thank you. Virulent says Warhammer shaped me 100%. Started when I was 9, got me deep into the arts and stuff. 20 years later, I work as a VFX artist, which shares a lot of aspect with the hobby that we're doing today. Getting kids into it is the best. So I agree with that loads. And then Grobter says, I'm a teacher and I work with autistic kids. Games are great because it sets understandable frames for social interaction, and modelling hobby adds plenty of hours of activity being alone, which is needed, which is good. And Virulent says, doesn't surprise me. There are quite a few of us in my workspace as well. D&D is also huge. Talking about people in those environments, right? Like, I don't know. For me, I played like JRPGs as a kid, and I read fantasy books. That was my thing. I didn't get into Warhammer till I was an adult, which scratched the kind of like physical element that I think that has always been lacking. But yeah, I read a lot of fantasy and I played through a lot of stories. But the game is impossible, or the hobby is impossible to complete. You can't be both the best gamer and the best hobbyist, although some people, and then the best lore master. It's just super hard to do all of those things, right? Because it's just vast. And then that's just if you're just playing AOS. If you're playing just 40k, same thing. Like, and then there's a billion other games in between, which is just wonderful. But what armies do you play?
Right now, okay. I'm thinking through all my armies right now.
Well, what are you about to build? Because I know there's some show and tell.
Okay. All right. So this is. So I traded for this stuff actually.
Okay.
So
some blue horrors, you awful person.
Oh yeah. Hey. Take a look at this.
Carry Acolytes.
Do you know how hard it is to get 10 summoning points or fate points in like a 1,500 point game? Even a 2,000 point game. Like I'm building my lists wrong apparently. Like, come on, Tzeentch summoning is garbage.
It's really not. It's fine.
It's like, oh, look, I get 100 points after 3 turns. Thanks, Tzeentch, or thanks, Slanesh.
Well, yeah, they're at the wrong end of the scale, so don't worry about that.
But I want to be at the wrong end of the scale.
Oh yeah, I mean
Why
everyone
can't
does.
Zinch mortals?
So you're planning on
Horrible.
playing Zinch? I think that's
So I actually that was my first, like, after AOS dropped, or after, like, so in Warhammer Fantasy I had my Wood Elf army, I have an Empire army and a Dwarf army,
okay.
and yeah, and all painted too and based. So once the Zinch was my first AOS army that I did, with lots of Zangors and Skyfires and stuff. You know, the fun Zinch, not the ugly Zinch. And then when Squigs, so when the Gloomspite book came out, it was nice. It was the first time where I was able to jump on a new army and grab a bunch of models and actually build and paint the army for. And that was when I went to CCBB. That was with my Squigalanche army. And that
Great
army is so
army.
much fun. I love it. Like, all the bounders, couple of manglers. It's just,
Just the best. Doesn't matter if
it's
you
just,
lose, you're still having a great
yeah,
time.
yeah. Charge, die, drink. That's what that army is.
Wow, the entire philosophy around a lot of medieval armies.
That's right.
K-Dread in the chat, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he said, get back into Warhammer for 20 years, getting back into Warhammer after 20 years, helped me recover from depression after a marriage breakdown, which is super sad, but I'm also happy that it's been able to do that as well. Yeah, I think that it's a super supportive community, but to also follow that up with what Andrew Tate said, before Warhammer I did nothing on Saturdays, but now I'm always in the shop on a Saturday and have a whole new friend group though, which is great. And again, similar, like I think a lot of us have taken some really valuable lessons. So people like the Winnipeg guys, you, and all the guys in your little local community that help build it, I think you'd be surprised about how much effect that has on those people locally, which is a huge positive, like net positive for people to have a positive outlet for. I said positive way too many times then.
Yeah. Our local store here, like, they've been really supportive of the hobby. They've been getting in product in, and you can order it. You can tell that they don't have something. You order it, and within a week, you can get it. As opposed to, like, either you pay the shipping to get it out here. But anyway, it's become a hangout place too, like where guys will just sit and build models. There's D&D going on all the time, so, like, that's been cool too for a lot of those people that didn't have a place to hang out, right?
Mm.
And talk about stuff where people aren't going to roll your eyes at you. It's like, oh, you're one of those people.
Anyone who does that,
Like,
if someone does that to me, I don't get despondent. I get into it more. I'm like, sit down. Like,
that's right.
I consider it my quest to find a nugget in their heart that I could exploit. I'm like, what do you like? Like rampant capitalism? Let me tell you about Sigma. Yeah, right. What are you, despondently aloof and a bit of a dick? Let me tell you about Oceanic Bone Reapers. Like, I
thought you were gonna say Zinch.
I will get into your eyes. Yeah, like there's nothing that isn't like, because they cover all aspects of that, I think. Big shout out to Rogrex in the chat, by the way. Helgamar says in the chat, and also hello to the Merchant Prince. Helgamar says, same with me. Help me recover from a divorce. Foundation of most of my friend groups. I think is good. And Helgamar, big love to you, and I'm glad you're doing loads better. Big love to everyone who's just doing it. Rogrex also just woke up.
The hobby helps you. It helps you get out of your head and thinking more outside yourself. Like for me at least, is okay. I've got these guys, these kids that are depending on me to be there, to have stuff ready. So I don't know. It's thinking outside of yourself rather than, like, just operating in here, because this isn't always the best place to be.
What, in your head?
Sometimes it's not the best place to be in my head.
That's why I sing songs, play music. Like,
yeah.
I just don't drown it out with sounds. Urbank602 has just subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thanks loads, by the way, and to everyone who's just joining us live right now, wherever you're joining us live from. And meow, I'm just going to meow has said, Just going to Wargaming in the Winnipeg scene, and it just makes it so easy to get into the community because of guys like Bud. Very nice to meet him at an event a couple of weeks ago. There you go. So you got a new star there. All right. So you know when people get into the scene locally, Bud.
Yep.
Do you have like a? Because I still don't really have this patois down. I don't have this script written in my head because it varies a lot of the time. You know, when people are like, how should I start?
Uh,
Have you got a go-to for like? I'm always like, wow.
well, I think some people don't like this, but it's at the GW stores. They'll say like pick models you like and start from there, and that's kind of where I try to guide people as well. It's like do pick something you enjoy, pick something you love, and then start figuring it out from there. Like don't blow $500 or $1,000 on an army right away. Like find a box you like. Like those look really cool. I want to get those. Okay, get them, paint them up.
I honestly think you have to have a small, brief intro on the narrative. I got in trouble last night because I got into bed and I started reading the Seraphon Battle Tome, and and the first thing I did was like, babe, they brought it back because my favorite bit about the Lizardmen narrative in the World War was the old ones element. It was the old ones.
Yeah.
The Slan had a great plan. The Skinks and the Saurus were really there just to fend off everything while the Slan enacted this kind of great envisioning. And that was like the first bit. And I got goosebumps when I was reading it. I was like, yes! Like, because not only did it hark back to something from a few years ago when I got super into it and I loved it, but it also was like exactly what I wanted that narrative to be, and I was like, I'm in, like I'm super in, and the artwork's fantastic in that book. But for me, I loved, I played Lord Croak in Warhammer Fantasy Battle and some in Age of Sigmar before it all became a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we'll play him again now, and I'm over the moon because his backstory to me was the coolest backstory. Like, I love that he hated demons so much because I'm like the worst person when you play like role-playing games. Like, I'm either like the big guy with a hammer who's the good guy, zero imagination, like zero. Like, my mates who used to play World of Warcraft were like, you are the most boring person. Yeah, like I hate all of your tunes, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, or I'm the irreverent child. Like when I played a bit of D&D, I played like a gnome who was a bard, and obviously I was ridiculous and I did nothing useful. So those are the two extremes of who I am as a person.
That's most of my 12-year-olds in grade 7.
Yes, that's me. I just haven't grown up. And and the thing about it is, Croak for me was that like selling point, and so I find it hard to answer that question. Where should I start?
Yeah.
Because you might like the look of a box, but you don't know what their story is, right?
Yeah. No, like some people have already kind of built. I mean, there's some stock stories, right? I mean, like a Fire Slayer is a Duarden is a dwarf. They're gonna have a Scottish accent. They're gonna drink lots, and they're gonna be stubborn. Elves are gonna be aloof, beautiful, and prance around, prancy pointy elves. um, and goblins and grots and gits are all gonna be stabby. So, like there's some of that carries over that people are gonna know whether they know the lore of AOS or not, and some of it just by looking at you're gonna know you're gonna have a feeling for some of that storyline.
That's a fair point.
Like what? Yeah. So one of the guys in my school group, he started with collecting KO, and like the steampunk dwarf flyers, like it spoke to his heart, and and then he started reading. It was funny because he started reading the lore, and he's like, these guys like to swindle everyone. That's awesome because that's totally how he is too.
Wow.
So
don't lend him a lawnmower.
No. Yeah, only 75% interest.
Oh wow. Okay.
Don't let him be in charge of a bank. So like that's what I say when they get in. One of the other things I'll do is I'll say like because I have such a wide variety of models, and even at our youth center we've got a lot of models there as well. So there's a chance where, some people don't like doing proxies or empty bases. Tom Layton, and so so it's a chance for them to try something out and see if it's a play style they like. See if there's something that speaks to their heart.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's the. I think later on, later on, Tom Layton in the chat feeling
Oh no.
feeling his ears burn, and he's just done a
See, and I don't even know these. I don't even know these guys, and I'll throw out stuff. But that's just someday I'm gonna meet some of these guys, and it's gonna be awesome. Just like when I met you, it was very very awesome, and I guess we'll get more of that later. Something I don't know.
Yeah, we could talk about that now. So we jumped over to so me and Scrivo, we flew over thanks to the wonderful Darren and the Canhammer team to do the live coverage of a 40k event that they had for Capital City Bloodbath. But similarly, most people don't know. Someone's painting up a Ghoul King in the chat. Lex, that looks really nice. Again, if you just want to jump in our Discord, I'll put it in there. While we're live, there's all sorts of pictures going on, which is pretty cool. Tanker's got a question for you before we talk anymore. Diffie, thanks for joining Patreon. Diffie, by the way, organizes. Oh, he doesn't need to do that. He's such a fucking great dude. He does Down Under pairings. And he's just a lovely, lovely man. Wonderful guy to talk to. So motivated and will help you out so much. Helped us out loads with some of the stuff that we did for CanCon, and has been instrumental in helping us improve some of the T-Sports coverage we planned to do in the summer.
No kidding.
Slash sad face.
This was supposed to be my travel summer. Like I was gonna get to go to 2 events this summer.
That would have been huge. It would have been huge. It would have been huge. Anyway, he's just a really nice man. He's derailed me now. Question is every army snow themed when you play Warhammer in Canada?
Well, it's really easy. Actually, no, because if you drop them in the snow, you can't find your army.
Nice.
Why did I paint everything white? I dropped
hell?
it. I can't see it. I know.
I've seen a picture there of one of your first events. That's awesome. That's so sweet, and also so Canadian looking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because look at you. None of you have even come close to a store that sells clothes that I would wear in the streets. Yeah, fuck you too, bud. I love you loads. Right, so, and who's doing this? Helgar has done 65 Chaos Warriors painted in 18 days. Oh, man. So, Chaos Warriors are such good models.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
But that's 65 models. I thought I was doing good when I did 15 intercessors in a week for an event. But yeah, okay.
I can paint so well. I painted loads of skinks once, which the Donaldinho, who's just in the chat, the grot terrorist himself, once took to an event, and then him and the Studio Urswood professionally rebased them for me. So I have a Studio Urswood army. I'll put pictures up later and make sure I tell everyone done by Studio.
You should write it on the rim of the
really
base.
He just did the base, because the model on top's awful.
No, don't put my name on that model anywhere. No.
Anyway, so we jumped over to Canada to do some 40k coverage, but there was also an Age of Sigmar event at the same time, right? And then you had messaged us and said that you're going to come say hi, and then you helped provide me and Scrivo with fruit and nuts and looked after us all weekend to make sure we're okay, which was just wonderful of you. So
apparently it didn't work.
Well, no, that's because of fucking Tim Hortons destroyed my heart, and I'll never go there again. And I'm sorry for insulting Timmy's. I know you're not meant to. It's not all the Canadians will be like, "How dare you, sir?"
I go to McDonald's for coffee, so
yeah, that's a thing in Australia and Canada. You guys think of McDonald's coffee as this elegant. You're like, Do you want to go fancy and get a McDonald's coffee? Whereas,
No, 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 no,
oh,
no, no, no,
okay.
no, no.
Well, in Australia they do.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, they're all prisoners, right? So, uh, um, so big love my cousins out there right now. I make coffee every morning. I grind the beans myself, put them in a French press, and that's how I make the coffee in the morning. That's elegant coffee. McDonald's is when I've gotten up too late and I have to run out the door and I still need breakfast and coffee and I don't want lineups. Because apparently everyone still thinks Tim's is great, so the lineups are huge and long. But McDonald's, it's like drive up, get my stuff, go to school.
Okay. Oh well, that's a cafetiere. Apparently, that's what it's called, according to Scrivo. Well, I now just drink decaf tea out of a thermos because I can't have caffeine and nothing. And life's not worth living. Everyone's like coronavirus. I'm like, I've already given up, so don't worry about it. Mm. Oh, look at that. It's not elegant here.
Sorry,
It's just
Ottawa.
available outside capital cities, says DJ Batman. So I've got that wrong, and I apologise for no local knowledge. And Tuffy Years has been doing some gorgeous, look at that. He's been doing some, is this all contrast painted stuff over in
Ew.
Discord? Hi, Tuffy Years. Afternoon, Rob. Hope you're keeping well. I am. Thanks. Hope you're all keeping well as well. Whippy6 is giving a thumb down on Tim Hortons.
That's because he's a restaurant guy too.
And then Jimmy 1080 says Macca's coffee tastes like blood from a cat's face. Wow. All right. Well, look.
Wow.
Turns out my hot take about hot drinks was wrong. So we met, which was cool.
Yep.
And
that was awesome.
that was fun. I got to meet Mrs. Budd, which was I was very happy about as well. And so it was really fun meeting you guys, and really showed me why Canada. I mean, also Darren was incredible. Everyone who I met in Canada was really kind and lovely. Like, they were just the best. So I couldn't really ask for better, truth be told. And then recently I found out, well, past few months, I found out that you were excellent at doing voiceovers, right?
Yeah. Well, this was okay. So this was one of those. Sometimes I don't like taking risks because I don't know. It's a whole fear of rejection thing growing up. We could go into psychology on a different podcast called "Psychology Is Us." I don't know.
That's a good one though.
But anyway, so I mean, I worked in radio for 9 years before becoming a teacher. I was involved in sports play-by-play, and I've always enjoyed building up the story of anything, right? You can build up the story of a sporting event. You can build up the story. I do this at school where I build up the story of the test, those kind of things. But like doing hype kind of things. And so for CanCon, I knew that the interdimensional championship of the Luniverse or something. Well, the multiverse, Luniverse is the Gloomspite championship that we have. And so I thought, like, this thing is writing itself. It would be really cool just to have like a hype thing. And then they were talking about like, what, we're not getting our own event, like on Twitter. And I was like, I'm going to write something. I'm going to produce something. I'm going to put it out. I don't care like if people like it or not. I'm just going to have fun doing it. So
yes, so
that's what I did.
So Bud's the very first experience is I was with Nick Hohen, and you'd sent us me and Danny. So I'm over in Australia, and I'd arrived a couple of days early, so I could drive down to CanCon because last year was just way too hard on the heart and the soul. Drive down, and I was with Danny Plays, wonderful man, Nick Home, wonderful man. We're in the Hertz Locker, which is our van, and we're going to drive this 8.5 hours, which to someone from the UK is like, fuck, that's so far. But everyone in Australia is like, yeah, quick trip. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Okay, hope you've gone to the bathroom. We're not stopping.
So I was like, no, we stopped a lot. But then anyway, we picked up Randy and we picked up Joe Pagano at the airport. Now, we'd listened to this, so you made an audio recording, which is just hilarious, like a WWE intro, which just fucking slew us, and we were having the best time. And then we asked you to re-record it. Maybe this was the day before, actually. I think I was with Sam Morgan, actually, the day before. We'd heard it the day before, and then we asked you to rewrite it, and then you redid it, which was amazing. And then we showed Joe and Randy, and both of those, we were just all in stitches, and it just was the hype that we needed for the event. which was great. Because there is something about like it's the guy that does the movie trailer in a world gone bad. Like it's like
That's
there's the
right.
movie trailer voice, right? And then unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, there's the American sports caster intro WWE voice, right? Isn't there?
Yeah.
And then from that point on, I asked if you'd record some of our audio for some of our stuff for the T Sports Network because I don't
Yeah.
really feel comfortable with my voice, like doing it. I just hate the sound of my own
Yeah.
voice. I know you're all
Oh,
listening and you're like, well, we do too, dickhead. But
when you sent me that message saying I want it to sound like this, and then you actually voiced it yourself. Oh, that was so
was it
funny.
bad?
That was it was
Oh.
hilarious.
Shit. Well, yeah. So then Bud started doing the voice for the T Sports Network stuff. And if you guys don't know what that is, we basically made I've tried to create a professional brand for doing event coverage and for turning wargaming events into sporting events. And so we did it under what I thought was a more professional banner and with a more professional voice. So thank you for doing that. And also it hypes us up as well. Like it sounds so fun, like really fun.
And yeah, yeah, and it's been for me it's been like that was one of the things I really enjoyed about radio. There were things that I didn't enjoy that were really stressful, but this was one of the things that was fun, and to be able to kind of do that again, and just and play around and do some of those things that I really enjoyed.
Because
So
similar to hobby, right? Like creating things, like
yeah,
I think it requires a certain level of back and forth. Like I like this, I don't like that. Maybe I should do this. Let's try that. And
yeah,
it's definitely a lot, which is why like I think once creators get to a certain stage, they always start hiring more people, or more people get involved in the creation element because you need more voices to make it more refined and better, right?
yeah. Well, and otherwise everything starts sounding exactly the same. If it's only your voice and only your ideas and only your viewpoint that's coming through, it becomes very, I don't know, it becomes very narrow no matter how much you try. And so when you get other people involved, it keeps it fresh, alive, and allows you to see things that maybe you didn't see before.
Yeah, I think so as well. Which is why I think having a group of people, I'm super lucky on the regular show hosts that we've had. Also, anyone who's ever just, Matrix, thanks for subscribing. Shout out to the amazing something community. I missed it. Damn it! I need a new way of. I've got to find a new way of putting up the Streamlabs because I just keep missing it. I'll do that right now. Thank you very much for subscribing. And if you type it in the chat, I'll read it out. What you just put. What was I saying? I was on a roll.
Other people, you have a great
Oh yeah,
community
I've got a
of
great community that challenges me, which I think is really positive, and also show hosts who challenge me, which I couldn't do it without. And everything. I learned so much from all of the different elements. And doing two game systems, I know obviously I talk about Age of Sigmar a lot, but actually the two game systems and the 40k guys, like Nikos and Tom, and Scrivo and all those guys, the way that they push me and poke me are fantastic. And then we've been lucky to slowly expand and have people like Darren on and put Darren onto the world and how wonderful he is. Dan Supervised, how amazing he is and the way he talks and cheers people up. So there's just a really great community of people. But I think you should always try and have people around you who challenge you, right, and make make you feel maybe uncomfortable a little bit sometimes, which is why Nathan's on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and you look at the different types of personalities that you have on. Like you have a Nathan who's he's funny. He won't say a lot, but he'll he'll definitely put you in your place once in a while. Every once in a while you'll get him like, oh, what about this, Nathan? And all of a sudden he'll start talking, and it's like he goes on for 2 minutes. It's like, whoa, what's going on, Nathan?
Yeah.
But like you can tell he thinks a lot about the game, and he picks his moments. Like Tom is very knowledgeable of the technical points of the game, and can Like he sounds like a super smart guy when he's talking about 40K.
But the rest of the
Um,
time, an idiot.
oh, see, and I don't know that.
No,
So,
I'm joking. He's fantastic. He's great. I just want to
and
go on.
sorry, and Nikos has that kind of dry sense of humor. Um, but he's also like you have a lot of really knowledgeable people that you've surrounded yourself with that you put on the show on a regular
I think
basis. I mean,
you should
and
always lift yourself up, right? And you should lift everyone else up as well. I don't want to be the smartest in the room. I'd rather everyone else was smarter than me. That's always the smarter play. Dexter, I just wanted to say some stuff's been going off in the Discord, which has been pretty fun. I mean, I got up on a different screen, so I'm feeling like a fucking
oh,
hacker, which is.
I know, me too.
But Dexter's got some really awesome. You can see it there. He's got a really cool. Is that a little? It looks like a Carriage and Overlords, but he's got some grots mixed in there as well. I feel uncomfortable about that narratively. That's upset me. I won't lie.
I don't even put him in the same
But
box.
Tuffy Ears has done a gorgeous, look at that, Mindstealer Spheranx, which they're just great. They're going to make great Demon Princes for people as well. Big fan of those in the chat. And then Dajin's
Those
given us an
wings.
update on his Magnus, which looks fantastic. So yeah, if you do want to join
Yeah.
our Discord, it's just a great opportunity for people to hang out and do stuff, which I think is sweet and swell. All right, so have you got anything that you want to bring up on the show? This is your opportunity.
Oh, oodles. So, first of all, this is where I get to pledge my undying love to Donald Taylor. Um, so when he's the infield reporter, like that's sometimes if I'm watching back, I might skip ahead past some of the battle itself and just go to the Donald parts.
Would you like there to be just a Donal outtake section?
I think so. Or just every time he throws in a little dig at someone, it's just he's brilliant. I love
It's
that.
also relentless.
Um, oh yeah. I get that impression
Yeah.
too. Um, so like so my honest wargamer journey, like actually the first time I heard you, Rob, was
No.
I gotta call you Rob.
Rob.
So
Really?
the re-
British am
so the
I?
reason
I'm so British that
I'm
I have
sorry.
the tippity top of Big Ben's cock.
I had I had porridge. I had porridge this morning for brekkie. Um, I have to call you Rob because the guy I teach at my school, my teaching partner, his name is Rob. And so if I'm talking about someone to Tina, then I need to let her know which Rob I'm talking about. So rather than say school Rob or honest wargamer Rob, I go Rob
Rob.
and Rob. Okay, so the first time I ever heard Rob was actually on the Canhammer podcast, and I was driving to my first event in years in Winnipeg. And yeah, it was an interview.
With Darren.
Yeah, with Darren. And I don't know if it was shortly or how long after it was that you had started the Honest Wargamer. So I guess it must have been
Yep.
like 8 months after you started.
Maybe. I think maybe not too long, actually. Thinking about the timeline. But yeah, it was a big, long while ago.
Yeah. So I was driving to Winnipeg to this event. I was super excited about, super nervous about. I hadn't met any of those guys yet, and I heard this interview, and I was just like, oh, this guy. I like the way he talks about the game. I like the way I like some of his ideas, and so we had the tournament, and they were talking about it a little. They actually like your name came up during it because they were talking about different podcasts. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to listen to one of his podcasts on the way home because it was a 90-minute drive back, so I had lots of time.
Loads of time.
And I listened. Oh yeah, so I listened to it. I was hooked. Right from then, I watched the Bobo coverage or the Crim Bobo coverage, and it was actually sitting on the couch with Tina, and I was watching this, and she was knitting, and she's like, actually, this isn't a bad way to watch Warhammer. Like even she recognized the quality of the content at that point, and I know you would say, oh, we've come so far from then, but even back then, you like that was a good product you were putting out.
Oh well, I
Like
appreciate that. Yeah, that's nice. Thanks. Like honestly, it seems like it. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy this conversation, and I enjoy interacting with people in the chat. Right. I enjoy
Hmm.
people enjoying meeting people face to face, and I get super hype when we're doing the coverage because I enjoy watching games of Warhammer, enjoying people play things. Like it's just, I love conversations. I don't overly love the sound of my own voice. I've
Hmm.
not listened to myself back often at all, and it does shock me that people are interested in listening to me talk. But I'm hoping it's because I have other people on who are great, like yourself. I mean, I've already had great people on all week. Scrivo yesterday, wonderful human being. Yeah, like
Yeah.
great people. Benjamin Savron tomorrow, great human being. Owen Jackson, great guy. Like it's more a vehicle for just showcasing all the other great guys that are around in the hobby. So it honestly, like I'm humbled by it. Don't get me wrong, super humbled, but also kind of weirded out. I'm like, why? Like, come on.
Yeah. Oh, stop
No,
it.
no, I'm being serious. I genuinely am. I genuinely am, and I
Yeah, yeah,
deeply
no.
appreciate it. I really do. And there's also a load of pressure I feel to make sure that it's not just me blathering on. So like tomorrow, I know that we're going to be talking. Like Owen did all the work the other day for a great show on Blood Crushers, which is just wicked and really good.
Yeah.
Scrivo
Yeah.
does amazing art. So talking to him about it's great fun. I'm really lucky that tomorrow I'm talking about Benjamin. That's going to be really fun. Sam
So
Morgan.
excited.
Yeah, Sam Morgan. That's going to be great.
My picture, well, him too, but Scrivo's doing a picture for me too.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, good. So, like, it's just having everyone else on, which is really fun. But I'm glad someone likes it. I guess. Fuck. I'm
Well,
so
and,
shit at
and you
this.
know what? So, like, I was super nervous about meeting you in Ottawa. Like Tina was just laughing at me the whole time. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna meet Robin Scrivo, and she's kind of laughing at me, and so we get in there, and like I don't want to walk into the area where you're setting up because I don't want to get in the way. I know you guys are like you're super busy, and I'm like go to Scrivo. It's like, hi, I'm Budtastic Guy. I wanted to meet you and Rob. And he goes, hey Rob, it's Budtastic Guy. And then you stood up and you said, Budtastic Guy, I love Budtastic Guy. And you came over and like you were so everything that you are on the screen and in your podcast and your coverage is the guy you are in person. And that's not always the case with people. Like sometimes they're a different person when you actually meet them, but like you're the genuine kind-hearted interested guy in
Oh,
person
let's
that you
stop
are
this. This
on.
is
No,
heartbreaking.
I'm so no,
No one
this
needs to
is
hear this. This
no,
is
no,
shit.
no. And I messaged you after and I said like, Rob, that was a real meaningful thing for me to be able to meet you and get to know you and
Yeah, but it's the same
just be,
back. Like that's the
well,
same. Like you're such a sweet dude. Like we were talking about, like you message me every day about things that are going on at school. Like the other, like yeah, Valerie, thank you. I don't want to hear how great Rob is. Thank you. Yeah, Thunderflux, positive words. Disgusted. Rograx, a bore. I agree. Let's all fucking move the fuck on. Like, like. Right? You're all dicks. Yeah. Thank you.
screw off.
Yeah, we're all.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's deal with this like men. Let's all call each other dickheads. Move the hell on.
all
All right.
right.
Let's.
I hate lizard men. Don't hang up on me.
No, wait, listen. The thing about it is everyone's like that. Like everywhere you go, like and this is everywhere. Like you were one of a wonderful group of people who helped me out when I was in Canada, and then similarly when I went to Nashville not long after, everyone there was amazing. Jimmy 1080 is in the chat right now. When I met him, like just a fucking, he's a fucking like he's a firefighter, right? And it
Right.
was in the middle of all of the fires, which I'd been keeping track of, speaking to loads of the Australians, and they were talking to me about how
Yeah.
fucking dark it was and how tough it was. And then he's just like,
Yeah.
so nice to meet you. I'm like, dude, you're an actual hero. Like, I'm just a fucking knob. Like, like, you're an actual hero. Like, stop. You're a teacher. Teachers are actual heroes. Nurses, doctors. Like, people listening now, like, supporting the community is everything going, this is nothing. Like, so, and that's my point. Meeting everyone is great. So if you can meet, like, Tom is a TA, like, Tom Layton, like, wonderful. Nikos is a support worker. Nathan builds homes and, like, makes sure people can have hot water, like, great people. Anyway. Anyway,
Right.
my way of dealing with this is just keep shouting until it stops. uh,
What do I need to say something mean?
no,
I don't know.
no, because you're good at that too. So don't hurt me.
England, your food is horrible.
Yeah,
There.
yeah, so's our faces. So's our faces.
I
Right.
didn't want to get too personal. Come on.
Uh, I'm not a support worker. Lol. Oh, you do something good, Nick. Shut up. Right.
Nikos.
Right.
He's not really a long-time Iron Hands player. I'm pretty sure that's just a charade.
Yeah, it is a charade. He's a long-time Necron player, but they just suck. I'm not going to cry Donadinho. You suck. He's another one.
Oh.
Right. Right. Well done. You just blasted the entire world. Right. So what you now the events are not going to happen for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your strategy and plans?
I need the hobby.
Shit.
Well, no. Okay, so spoiler alert, and I don't want to get too personal, but like sometimes I have trouble. Like when I'm hobbying, I know that I'm mentally healthy, and when I'm not, when I'm doing things that aren't healthy for me, like video games, then I know things aren't going well. And
I honestly thought you were going to
sometimes,
say moose tipping. So sorry. I know
oh,
this is a poignant moment, but I'm just going to...
let's get the moose.
I've tipped a moose.
I'm gonna get tip a moose, and then bake it in maple syrup. Actually, you know what? Maple syrup moose steaks. Would that work? Tina says that would work. So,
Okay.
guess next time I'm out, I'm gonna go get a moose.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. That is not a moose habitat out there. I'm on the prairies. There's no wetlands.
I honestly don't know where mooses live. I thought you were in the north. I don't know anything.
I know.
Right.
I know.
Okay.
I'm sorry for crashing your world.
But anyway, you were saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like as far as like hobbying now, like just get stuff ready, get stuff painted, maybe actually paint a bit of terrain, and try to use social media in a healthy way where use it for connecting with people. Like some of the most fun is just little back and forths on Twitter, seeing other people's hobby progress. Oh, sorry, that was bad. All of a sudden, it's a Rage of Sigmar podcast where somebody's belching into the mic. Joe Pagano. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a plan right now. I'm still technically working next week.
Yes.
And
because that's one of the things that we don't think about with teachers, right? Because you guys are going to have to teach the kids who like doctors, nurses, all the support workers, their kids can't be at home, right?
Oh no, they'll be at home. Like school's shut. Like here, school is shut down for sure for the next 3 weeks. Well, 1 week was going to be spring break anyway, so it's technically 2 weeks. But we're still expected to. I don't know. Some people are going to do professional development. I've actually set it up. I'm going to do a live stream twice a day for my students. For like about, we like it's a very conservative community. And some people don't even have desktop computers in their home. And so they don't have a lot of access. Kids don't have a lot of free access to the internet. But for those that are able to, I'm going to do like a check-in in the mornings and the afternoon where like they can just ask me questions. They get to hear an adult's voice other than their parents, which sometimes can be just healthy just to, talk to somebody different, like because rather than feeling isolated. And yeah, so that's 2 weeks. Like, I think we're going to have to go into school at least once or twice for staff meetings where we all stand very far apart. And so like, I won't be sitting at home, in my underwear eating popcorn on the couch every day. So
what a terrible,
There's a
what
picture.
terrible, what a terrible life. No, I think like yeah, no, I get it. I get it. It's interesting as I speak to every person, like the difference in where you are compared to like where, like say Owen was, where he's in a city and it's London, and it's just
I know.
like it's just it's
The
all about
fog.
yeah, yeah, and then so it's interesting to just see what's happening around the world, and everyone to get a little look into what's happening. So, but you are going to try and hobby, right? You're going to try and get
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping my son will come home. Like, my son lives in Winnipeg, and he's bunkered down there. He's being smart. At least that's what he's promised me. But he's 20. I can't control what he does anymore. Um, but I'm hoping he'll come home. I'll get to play. I got to play a game with him the other day, which hasn't happened a lot because kids grow up and don't think that you're the greatest anymore. And he beat me, which he usually does because I'm horrible. So I've decided in my life I'm never going to be a great Warhammer player. So I need to be a fun Warhammer player. Um, but yeah, so I'm hoping I'll get a couple of games in with him. But yeah, other than that, Tina, you want to learn Warcry?
She said no. Well, there might be some options, right? So there are some cool things you can do if you do have access to a computer. There are things
Yeah.
like Tabletop Simulator, which might be a way for us to play. I'm actually exploring that later with a guy called Mark. And obviously there's Discord chats where people can hang out and do hobbying together, which I know isn't perfect, but there's some great opportunities for people like yourself to start recreating those environments, but online for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think those are huge positives, and get those people talking, get those people encouraged, because all those people who are susceptible to feeling a little bit uncomfortable, or even worse than that, while isolated, it's a positive way of trying to like get them into those groups, right? And do something fun, do fun things. It's
Yeah.
like, and you're creative, and everyone like this hobby is full of creative people. If we can't all come up with some fun ways to do things, then I don't know what we're doing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and be the gaming community, like the guys out there are awesome. So like if you're scared of putting yourself out there, like there's lots of welcoming people that are like, yeah, man, let's chat, let's like just being but sometimes you need to be the one to say, hey, I need someone to talk to. Hey, I want someone to someone want to chat with me while I'm painting, because it's going to make it easier for me. Like being willing to do that, um, you're gonna feel better about it because the guys out there are super awesome. They're super nice. Hashtag gamers are great.
They are great. That's a great way to end the show. I think that's fantastic. Yeah. The gamers are great. Have you got any final thoughts? Anything you really want to get off your chest before we do go?
um, yeah, stay positive, everyone. I mean, we're pretty early in this thing in North America, at least, but this too eventually will pass, and we'll be gaming again. And for now, we've got Rob to help keep the world going.
Oh well, yeah, there's loads of people, yeah, but
No pressure,
yeah,
Rob.
you can join me every midday for that. That'd be fun. Just like I also want to say a big shout out to everyone who has joined us today live. You've all been great. It's been fun hanging out with you all. Jimmy 1080, Unlimited Blame. And all of you guys, Valerie, Nikos, it's just been super fun to see you all. Thunderflux, Merchant Prince, Donaldinho, I've seen you all. So thanks for being here. Thanks, Bud, for being on the show. Hopefully we'll have you back sometime soon. You've been wicked.
Oh, I would love that.
Wicked fun to talk to, so thanks so much. Big love to everyone in Canada and everyone all around the world. Thank you to people who've just joined Patreon today. That's just overwhelmingly cool of you. Thanks, and for subscribing. And if you listen to the podcast, stay hydrated. While doing the show, I've drank one of these of water, a pint of water, I think, out of one of these bad boys. So, there you go. Bud's been doing the same. So just stay healthy, stay positive. Join our Discord if you need some people to talk to. The link will be in the show notes. Post up some pictures, say some stuff. It's full of really friendly people that will want to say hi. You guys have a great time. Again, big thank you to Bud. I'll include his Twitter handle if you guys want to join him and say hi to him. Later, Tristan, Dexamon. Bud, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. This was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oops.
And join us tomorrow. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.